I went from not being able to work or drive at age 22 to being financially free at age 26 and a millionaire by 29.
Diego, honored to have you, man. Growth House Podcast here with Jesse Ray. I'm so excited to dive into your story. I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, but I gotta at least, give you some things that I know about you since we're good friends. Uh, Salsa dance king, that's number one, obviously.
A
TEDx speaker. You speak at the White House. What else? The ultimate go giver. You're someone who's just amazing at connecting people. We just connected earlier. You connected me with one of your friends. Totally hit it off. Super excited to connect with that person. And also, you do some real estate on the side. And
Yes,
I say that jokingly because that is your main thing and you're crushing it, man. You've been an inspiration to me for many years. And it's an honor to call you, mi hermano now.
there
So
you
let's dive
go.
into this. I'm trying to learn that Spanish. So I know you know I've been
Exactly.
working on it. This poquito.
Exactly. 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 So, Jesse, muchas gracias por tenerme acá. No, I'm just kidding. This is going to be a Spanish podcast for Jesse. No. Yeah, so a little bit of my story. I am from Lima, Peru. I came to the United States when I was 9 years old. And we came here with a tourist visa for 6 months, supposedly. But we ended up staying longer, and that's when we became undocumented when I was a kid with my family. I had no idea what that meant. So now I am what Congress calls a dreamer and a DACA recipient. Later in my life, as I was becoming a teenager, that's when I hit my first obstacle as an undocumented immigrant because I heard what it was. I just didn't know how it affected me personally. So at 15
Mm.
years old, I went to the DMV to get my driver's license. At that point, I found out when I give them all the documents, they tell me, Diego, you don't have that these documents that are needed, so you can't get your license. And I was like, crap. All my friends were getting their driver's license, their cars, all that stuff, and I couldn't. It was a little bit hard, but I put all my emphasis into school. Graduated third in my high school class. From there, I applied for colleges and universities, all that stuff. I got into Florida State University. And as I was looking at like how much it was going to cost and everything, I applied for financial aid, grants, Pell grants, all that stuff, and some scholarships too. And I found out that I couldn't qualify because I didn't have a green card and I wasn't a citizen. So that was another obstacle. I'm 18 years old and I'm like, crap, how am I going to go to college if I have everything going for me, right? And I was able to have enough for 1 year. So I went to Florida State for 1 year and I had to figure out a way to pay for the remaining years. So I started I started what I call work to learn. So I got an internship where I could learn as much as possible and I wouldn't get paid. It was completely free, and I got experience. They actually offered me a job, and as I was going through the application process, I was 19 at the time. They asked me for my work permit. They said everything is good. You just need that document. And when I call my mom, she tells me, Diego, we don't have that. You don't have a work permit.
Mm.
And I was like, crap. So I'm 19 years old, cannot work, cannot drive, can't get student loans or financial aid from the government, any grants. But at that point, I remember what my dad told me that the US is a land of opportunity, but it is up to us to find it. So I'm like, there has to be a
Mm.
way. And I got creative. And in this journey, as I'm sharing it to you, one of the skills that I got was resourcefulness. And that became my unfair advantage years later. I didn't know how much it was going to help me right in the beginning. So then I was able to look for solutions, and instead of being a victim and saying, "Oh my gosh, this completely sucks and now I'm not going to do anything. Let me just quit college, let me go home and not do anything." I took more the empowered mentality, not the victim, and began to look for
Mm.
solutions, right? Because you can either, if you want to have a big life, you can either look for solutions and be empowered, or you can create excuses and not take any action. So I decided to just look up
So good.
different ways that I can make it happen. And I found out that I could create my own company And with a tax ID, I would qualify for a tax ID, then create my company, get an employment EIN number, and get paid as a contractor for that company, not as Diego Corzo. And that is how I was able to pay for college, doing web design, software, websites on WordPress, a little bit of social media. And yeah, that's how I was able to pay my way through college. So I'll stop there and see what questions or
Yeah.
something you might have.
Man, so much right there. I can't wait for you to continue because I know more of your story.
Hmm.
And just like you said, resourcefulness was so big. You just got creative. But I feel like it's so easy, especially nowadays. People almost like praise people who are like, "Hey, I'm gonna take the victim mentality."
Hmm.
Why didn't you like, you could easily have been like, maybe not, hey, I'm gonna drop out, but like, hey, I'm just gonna settle on something, not try to push it to the next level. Was that your parents that instilled that in you? It's like, no, Diego, keep going, you're gonna figure this out? Or what drove you? That's, I guess, my main question. What drove you?
Yeah, for me, and at the end of the day, no matter whatever you want to achieve, right? And this is something that I wish everybody had, that immigrant mentality. The immigrant mentality
Mm,
is you coming here, starting from zero, and you know that if you go back, like if you fail, right, you have to go back into a life that you wanted to live in the first place. So you have no options. It's sort of like that, what Tony Robbins called like burn the boats. It's from that perspective, right?
hmm
You're here, you're in the land of opportunity. And so now it's up to you to make it happen. So then, between that mentality of no complacency, of just making it happen and figuring out a way, plus the example that my parents gave me of work ethic, grit, perseverance. Like my parents they would work long hours. And then, to give you an example, right? Friday, they will work at 11 a.m. at the restaurant till 10 p.m., then karaoke night on a Friday. So they will work, and this was in Miami. So the restaurants close at like, I
mm.
mean, that nightlife will close at
Too
like
late.
4 or 5 a.m. And then they would be back again the next day at 11, working till another 5
Mm,
a.m. And so I saw that work ethic, and my mom would always say, hey, work is work. You have to make it happen. And so it was
mhm,
that example. And then because I always saw that, I wanted to let them know that the sacrifice that they did of coming to a new country, leaving their culture, leaving their family, their friends, and basically starting from zero, learn a new language, all of that stuff, that it was well worth it. Right. And so that became my
mhm.
why. And I feel like for anybody that does want to achieve something great, they need to have a strong why.
I love that. Well, keep going, man, because I know your story gets even more, better.
Yes.
So
Yes.
keep going. I want to hear about how you're able to now, get paid through your, like, was it an
Yeah.
LLC or your own corporation?
Yeah, so it was through my LLC, and and this is like 2011, 2010. So literally there was no Ubers back then, no Lyft, no nothing. So my bike was my only mode of transportation. So there will be times that I will have a suit in my backpack with a towel, and I would have to ride my bike in Florida, right? It's freaking hot over there in the summer,
Oh gosh.
and I would have to ride my bike in the summer, to meet with all of these business owners to see if I could redo their website or create a marketing plan for them. And I would ride my bike, park my bike in the back of the building, dry off with my towel, change into my suit, and walk through the front of the building. And it was just those things that I just had to make it happen, because then I would get the job, right? Get the contract, walk to the back of the building, change into my sweaty gym clothes, and ride my bike back home. And that was what I
Oh
had to
gosh.
do. There was nothing else. But it was because I had that strong why, that for me, it was like, all right, let's go. When is the next meeting? Right. And between that and
Mhm.
creating study guides so that I could, during my classes, you know how we have like 3 exams a semester per class. I would create study guides for the
Yeah.
200 or 300 students in some of the classes. And that's how I was able to pay for college. So I just had to get creative and always figuring out a way and seeing opportunity. I feel like when you see opportunity, you can achieve more than other people that create excuses. And I've been a big believer on that. And
Oh
then
yeah.
in 2011, my buddy Pascal, which I think you know, maybe not. But my buddy
Yeah, yeah.
Pascal
We connected
throws
over
me,
Instagram. Great guy.
yes, yes. He throws me this book, and it's Rich Dad Poor Dad. And in it, it teaches two things. So you can trade your time for money or make your money work for you. So I set a goal to have, after I read it, my whole mindset changed. And I set a goal to have 10 properties by age 35. I figured I would save money
Mm.
until I'm 25 and then buy a house once a year. And with 10 properties, I'm solid. Well, I was able to achieve that by freaking 27 years old. But it was because I met the right people and all of that stuff. And I'll share more on that later. But the main thing here is that in 2012, Obama, the administration, gives an executive order called DACA, and that allows the dreamers, people that came like me as a kid back before
Mm.
2007, and that they've graduated high school and have a clean criminal record, to be able to get a driver's license and a work permit and a social security number. So that is how at age 22, finally, after I graduated college and all of that, I was finally able to work and drive. I moved to Austin, Texas to work for General Motors, and I began my journey in corporate America. In between that time, got my license, and then I left corporate America in 2015 when I was 25 years old.
Let's go. You know what? I want to hit on one thing.
Yeah.
You mentioned that why is super important. And obviously you had that why, a lot of it was based on, seeing your parents, all the sacrifice they did for you. If someone
Hmm.
right now is struggling with that why, for me, it's making sure my why is always bigger than myself. If someone is struggling with that motivation, with that why, what kind of like advice would you have for that person?
Yeah. It might be that the why is not strong enough. So what I would recommend, I do
Mm-hmm.
like what you said, that that there's always that why, right? That is bigger than yourself. So I would recommend to that person to ask themselves why 7 times. Like it's more like my why is to travel around the world. Why? Like, why is that you go, oh, because when I was a kid, I couldn't, like, I remember me wanting that and I couldn't do it. Okay, why? Why? And you will get to the nitty gritty for it. And you'll see that
Mm.
asking yourself between 5 to 7 whys, you go to the true why that is going to push you to the max. Yeah. Yeah.
So back to your story. What age
Back
did
to my
you
story.
hit financial freedom or financial independence?
I hit my financial freedom number at that time when I was 26, about to turn 27. And that was around, now I was living for free, and I'll share that part of the story, but it was between living for free and having 3 grand
Mm.
a month in passive income. That was as a millennial, young 20s, everything. I'm 33 now. But I hit that number like 3,500, 3 grand. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
this is great. Like, this is what I need at that time. Of course, I have much more expenses now, but at the beginning, give me that freedom.
So what's so important about hitting that number? I have my own thought about it, but what's your
Yeah.
opinion? Like, why is figuring that number out and then hitting it, what does that set you up for? Or why is that even important to you?
Yeah, I feel like having a freedom number, it's really important because a lot of people think that they need $1 million or $5 million in the bank before they can quit their job or before they can retire or whatever, pursue their real dreams. And that is not true. You need to figure out what your monthly expenses are or can be, living a comfortable life, whatever that is for you, and then working your way towards that by investing in ways that the assets give you passive income every month so that you can hit that number and then have that financial freedom, do whatever you want. And the point is that you want to get to do stuff, not that you have to do stuff. And that becomes, it's like a lot of people say, oh, I
Yes.
have to go to work. It's like, no, I get to go to work. And if you love what you do at work,
Mm-hmm.
then you know that, hey, the day that your bosses ask you for the 10th time, you have to stay late because that's the way it is. And if now you can leave, you can be like, okay, well, I don't need this job. I have this passive income. Thank you very much, boss. I'm out. And then it'll be like, no, 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 wait, 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 right? When you get
Yes.
to go to work, you have power when you get to do stuff. And money
Mm,
doesn't give you happiness, but it gives you choices and access to have the freedom to choose.
yes.
And that is the biggest difference in reaching your financial freedom number. And I feel that this is something I wish that this was something that they taught us in high school or college or anything, but they don't. And now it's up to us, up to you, me, and everybody that is in that financial freedom route, to actually help other people realize
Hmm.
that if your financial freedom number, if you look at your expenses and it is $8,000 that you're spending every month, then work your way to $8,000. You don't have to wear until you have $1 million in the bank. You do not need that. You just need to invest wisely
Yes.
and reduce your expenses for a little bit. And like I think Dave Ramsey says that if you live for 2 years like most people won't, you can live for the rest of your life like most people don't. Right. And that is really important because you have to
Love that quote.
sacrifice in the beginning. And that's what I did. I was working at General Motors, making 60K a year, and instead of buying that new Cadillac, like some of my friends were buying, or that new Camaro and everything, because now we're working at General Motors and we get access to those cars a little bit better, less expensive. But still, I was like, I'm not going to buy a new car right now. I got a '09 Honda Civic, and I saved my money to then buy my first property, my first house hack property in Austin in 2014, and it cost me 170,000, putting 5% down as an owner occupant. And I lived in the master and rented the other 3 rooms. And that allowed me to live for free and also have enough to pay for my car payment.
So good. And let's pause there because I like asking these questions in between your story because I think a lot of people will be listening and then be like, okay, but wait, let's dive into that. Like how can I relate that to my life now and in
Mhm.
today's times? So let me just ask you. I have my own opinion. I think we're pretty similar. But in 2024, what would you say is the best strategy for someone maybe in their 20s? They don't have a family yet, and they're like, hey, I want to be a step ahead of the game and get into real estate early. What do you suggest?
The best strategy to get started in 2024, if you're in your 20s, it is house hacking. You have to, if you look at your budget, right?
Yes.
Yes, is house hacking. If you look at your budget, you're going to see that your living expenses, your housing, whatever, is probably going to be 30% or even 50% of what you're making. So ask yourself, how can you eliminate it? And when you ask yourself that question and you Google it and all this other stuff, how do I eliminate my housing expenses and have other people paying that for me? Instead of living with your parents, you can actually buy a house and live with roommates that pay for your house, that pay so that while you're living in that property, you can live for free. And that is what I did. And in that, I also, for me, it began to be a game because I was like, okay, this house is paying
Mm,
for my housing and my car. What if house number 2 that I can buy a year later, still putting only 5% down? What if that car now, I mean, what if that house now, after I move away from property number 1, what if that house is now going to pay for all of my food and my car insurance, right? Then property number 3 a year later, what if that house number 3 now pays for my travel? And so a lot of
mm,
people in their 20s, 30s, or even older, they begin to just collect bills. Why don't we change the mindset that instead of collecting bills, we're collecting assets that pay for our bills? Once we do that, we achieve financial freedom
yes.
because money is a game. Whether you like it or not, we live in a country that you have to learn to play the game. But once you do it, it's
Hmm.
very easy to just grow, grow, grow.
So good, man. All right, continue. So you're on property 3. You're now able to supplement a lot of your expenses by having this passive income through your properties. Quick question before we continue. What if someone says, Diego, I don't want to live with roommates, man. Like, I want to live by myself. What's your answer
Mhm.
to that?
Yeah. Um, I'll tell you this. I have lived with sorry, I have chatted and studied, hung out, learned everything from probably 500 millionaires that I have spoken with. And when I asked them what were one of the key things that they did when they were first getting started, probably 80% of them said that they were living with roommates and that's how they got started because they had the extra income and they didn't have that thing of like, hey, I need to go to work so that I can pay for my house. No, it gives you freedom to choose whatever you want. Now, a lot of them are entrepreneurs, but if you want to not work till you're 65, you have to do a few things different than those people. Yes, it may suck, but if you sacrifice, like I said, for those 2 years, I would just say just commit for 2 or 3 years and then you will see the results
Mm-hmm.
later. Because now, for example, with everything that I've built, I know that some people that I went to work with and stuff like that, they may if they enjoy their job, great. But I have some more flexibility than a few of them do because I sacrifice more in the beginning. Because for some people, they want to work till they're 65. I want to work till I'm 35 from that perspective. I've completely, like, after that, I have choices. And now, for example, I know that you and I have hung out in
Mm-hmm.
Puerto Rico. I bought my dream condo in Puerto Rico, and now I can go there whenever I want and not have to
Yes.
think about it of like, oh my gosh, I do have to work. Now, of course, I have responsibilities that I do have to get to here in Austin because I'm a realtor and all that stuff, but I get to choose what I want to do. And actually, I also get to choose the amount of
Mm-hmm.
money that I want to make. And when you know how to make money, you have like complete freedom to choose how you want to live. And that is amazing.
Mm. So good. I want to touch on choice because I think
Yes.
a lot of people, and this is going back to like you get to choose even when you house hack, you can choose who you live with. Like it's not like you just throw some random people in the house. Like quickly on my story, I chose that I wanted to go down an entrepreneur journey and I want to be surrounded by like-minded people. So that's how Growth House even started. So guys, you have a choice. Like you have a choice on community, who you want to surround yourself with, which we'll dive into that next. But I really want to reiterate that, like, oh my gosh, I don't want to live with roommates. If your roommates are your friends, then it's way more exciting and more fun to live with your friends that push you, that will go to the gym with you in the morning. Like, and you like you said, it's 2 to 3 years of quote unquote
Hmm.
sacrifice. I
Yes,
enjoy it. I
exactly.
still have someone that I live with, Ben, where we wake up every morning at 6 o'clock, hit the gym, go have fun, go chat about our goals, and then get after it at night. Like it's like not this. I think it's I don't know. We have this misconception that once you graduate and as soon as you can, go live by yourself. You know how much money you're
Hmm.
going to waste living by yourself. At the same time, you're going to grow a lot quicker if you're surrounding yourself by like-minded
Hmm.
people, people that push you, want to grow with you. So just like
Yeah.
I just really want to reiterate that. But let's dive into community and how important
Yes.
it was for you to get around the right people to then elevate your mindset and your growth to then take off in real estate.
Exactly. Yes, because the community is really important. And I'll say one thing because I want to add to what you said is that one of my mentors, his name is Adam Carroll. That is somebody that I do need to connect you with because I think you'll have really good conversations. I don't know if you met him when I met you at RoopCon 2 or 3 years ago. He was one of the
No, I didn't.
speakers.
No, not yet.
Okay, okay. But he's been my mentor since 2011. And he was my first mentor. And I remember something that he told me when I went to one of his first events. The personal development event was his in 2011 when I went, and the first one. And he said, if you live like he said, I recommend that you live like a poor college student your first 2 or 3 years of working in corporate America, because that changes
Mm,
completely. As a poor college student, you're not buying the furniture, like the new furniture. You're not buying that brand new car. You're not spending all this money. No, live like a poor college student. Now, don't continue eating ramen noodles because your sodium level might skyrocket. But just be conscious of how you're spending, right? And that's what I did. I live with
Hmm.
roommates. When some of my friends at GM would tell me, why are you living with roommates? We make over $60,000 a year. Now that was in 2013. It's like, we make good money. Why are you living with roommates? And I was like, because you want different things that I want. Like, I need to sacrifice a little bit here because what I want is I want financial freedom in the next 10 years. I don't want to work till I'm 65.
Hmm.
So, because of those things, you have to do things that are different than the norm. The norm is you graduate, you get a good job. From there, you live in a really nice area because now you're making your money at your corporate job. You get the new car, you show it off, get the really nice furniture, maybe a condo with a view and all this other stuff. And shoot, one of my roommates had a Jaguar. He was giving me rent, and I was living for free in my Honda, like with my Honda Civic, right? And shoot,
Hmm.
it's just different choices, right? And so it's those are the things
So
that are
true.
super super important to note of living like a poor college student in the beginning. Because, and he told me too, Diego, the the new car smell wears off, the car payments don't. And I was like, that's really
Oh,
smart. That's really smart.
mic drop.
Mic drop, dude. Then later, I bought my a brand new car. I bought a Tesla a couple of years ago, brand new, but it was a tax deduction. So, and we can talk about that later on tax deductions. But community, the people that you surround
Hmm.
yourself with is one of the most important things in your life. And that's why, for example, when you invited me to come and speak to your mastermind, when you were doing that the growth house for a month or something,
Yeah,
right?
Growth House Mastermind.
Yes.
Yeah,
Number
yeah.
one, I was super excited that you did it. And then you're like, Diego, would you want to come and share your story with the peeps? I was like, dude, heck yes. So I went over there and we hung out. But the main thing to note is that Tony Robbins has a quote that he says that your life, the quality of your life is in direct proportion with the quality of your peer group. And it's super important to know that your peer group
Mm.
creates that standard. That standard is up to you to see like how you want to live it, right? What happened to me was when I was 23, I when I was 23, I was able to get connected. I listened to a podcast by a guy named Pat Hyben, and I was able to get connected to a group, a mastermind group called Go Abundance. I heard him on the podcast, follow him on Twitter, and just ask him a question on Twitter. I sent him a DM, and I was like, Pat, you mentioned Go Abundance. What is that? And he says that it is a mastermind group for millionaires that like to talk about financial independence, go on adventure, health, and contribute. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's what I want. But I was 23 years old at that time, and I I wasn't a millionaire, but he told me that that was a group for millionaires. So what I did is I went online, filled out a form on their website, and then after that, I was able to jump on a call with one of the owners of that mastermind group, and they invited me to come to one of their events. It was going to be 12 people, all millionaires except for me, and it was an incredible experience because like they didn't know that I was going, that wasn't a millionaire. And when everybody's introducing themselves and sharing their net worth and what they're doing, one guy's worth 40 million, another guy's worth 5, another guy's worth 3, whatever. And when they come to me, I'm like, I'm Diego, I'm 23 years old, I just got a job at General Motors, and I my net worth is $25,000. And they were like, who the heck is this kid and why are you here? But after that weekend, they liked my story, they saw my potential, and they allowed me to be their first mentee. their first men, like they became my mentors, their first apprentice. And after that, my whole
Mm.
life changed. My whole life changed after that. And I turned 24 years old at that event. And I told them, hey guys, you guys don't know this, but I just turned 24 years old today. Is my birthday. And I'll tell you that after this day, my life will never be the same. And it was not. 2 weeks later, I was flying on a private plane of David Osborne, just like learning, hearing their conversations, surrounding myself with millionaires. And they set the standard for me. And the shortcut to success is this: surround yourself with people, whether they're coaches, mentors, a mastermind group that helps you, like they have what you want, right? Because what's going to happen is you're going to elevate to that level. Jim Rohn has a quote that you are the average 5 people that you surround yourself with. So if I'm surrounding myself with millionaires, I'm going to become one. You just need to take the right actions. And I knew that I had become a millionaire already. I just needed time to go through so that the money can show up in my pocket or my bank account. But I already had that belief, and that belief of me, I am going to become a millionaire. I just have to trust the process and let momentum become my friend. And that's what I did. So that now by age 29,
So good.
I was able to become a millionaire, still without a green card and still without a citizenship. So when people tell me, Diego, I have this is my issue, this is my issue, how do I become a millionaire? I'm like, bro, you have to surround yourself with people, follow these steps, and I
Yes.
can help you get there, right? But you have to take the right action and trust the process.
Success leaves clues. I know that's one of your favorite quotes, right?
Mm-hmm. Success leaves clues. And the hack
And
to success is surrounding yourself with a mentor that whatever took them 10 years to get or 20 years, it will take you 5. That is the hack to success.
hmm, so good, because every day I have people reach out, and I know you probably have multiple people per day reach out, and they say, Jesse, how do I start? How do I get around people like you or Diego or all these people that you know on social media? How do you start? At the end of the day, it's like you just got to push people to understand you have to invest in yourself. First, it's great to start reading those books, listen to those podcasts. It's maybe level 1. Level 2, like we're talking about, is who you're surrounding yourself with and how do you get in those rooms. The quickest way is pay to play. And that means investing in yourself. You know how many thousands of dollars that me and Diego have invested in ourselves to go to these conferences, to rub elbows with these people who are way more successful than us. And what's the best and like my favorite thing about it is it brings everyone down to this human level. Because when I see
Mm-hmm.
people that have $100 million, I'm like, dang, maybe one day I can, get there. And then I hang out with them and you're in an intimate setting with them. You're having dinner and you're like, they're no different than me. And then you start to have that belief, like you just said, it really is so much a mindset thing where, we've hung out with people that are worth so much money, but it's like, they're no different than us. Maybe they've been in the
Mm-hmm.
game longer, or maybe they've been more consistent. It's not something super spectacular or special usually about them. I think it's so important. And you won't know that, people that reach out, unless you go put yourself in these rooms, put yourself in
Mm-hmm.
this position to invest in yourself. Yes, maybe it costs, $1,500 a month or a couple $1,000 to join a mastermind or what have you, but it's so worth it because that will unlock, something in your mind that will then make it real to you.
Yes, and that's going to allow you to surround yourself with like-minded people, and it's the mastermind groups are the ones that give you that accountability. Because when you jump on the calls, right? When you jump on the calls, you want to make sure that you have something to, when they do a check-in, is that you want to make sure that you have something to share. Not, oh, I created I didn't do it because of this, I didn't do it because of that. If it's like that for 4 calls, I'm like, hey, this might not be the mastermind for you. You might have to join another one. Or like,
Mm,
hey, what is the issue? How can we help you? What is that roadblock that you have right now that you haven't been able to take in much action? Like, why are you stuck in analysis paralysis, right? And then we work through it in the hopes that they do take action.
mm-hmm,
So that's what those mastermind groups do, is they hold you accountable to your actions, and they help escalate you faster to success because you can leverage their network, you leverage their wins, their lessons, all of that stuff.
Yes. Yeah, I was people ask me like what's like the best thing about being in a growth house or being surrounded by these like-minded people, especially if you're around them consistently. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to be winning at everything all the time, but if you have someone else whose match is lit and they're walking around with that swagger and they got that winning mentality and you get close enough to them, especially in proximity, that match is going to now light you. And it's like contagious to be around a circle of winners, circle of people that want to elevate. And I love what you said because yes, it's so true. Accountability is something that is a big thing for people, especially when you're first starting. But then the community is what's going to actually like keep you from jumping off the edge when everything goes, you don't know what you're doing. You're like, oh my gosh, maybe this deal's going sideways. I don't know what to do. But guess what? You got other people in that group that says, hey, I've been there, relax. And they get to guide you through that process. Since we're
Exactly.
on the like topic of community, obviously we have the Growth House community, but I want you to talk about, FI investors. And I want you to talk about why you started that and
Yeah.
some of like the examples of people that have been doing something amazing within that community. Cause I absolutely love every single person I connect with in your community. It's just a great person, but they're also action takers, which I just absolutely love. I love it.
Yes, yes. So I created FI Investors. It stands for Financial Independent Investors because I want people to change their identity of if you're a financial independent investor, you've reached that level, you have all the freedom, you're financially free, and and we teach and we help hold people accountable. And the investors that come to the group, they're either just starting out buying their first or second properties, or they want to scale. They might want to go from 5 to 10 or 40, and we help them through that by giving them a game plan on how they can do that. We bring guests every single Monday. We have some office hour calls and all this other stuff too. But the key thing is also the accountability. The accountability is really important to help them get there. And we talk about starting whether they want to do house hacking, investing out of state, midterm rentals, co living, pad splits, whatever, short term rentals, multifamily. And in that group, you get people that what's been really cool to see is that we have people that have become millionaires, that have retired their spouses, that have bought
Let's
businesses now
go.
too, and I get to invest with them. Because imagine I'm mentoring somebody for, let's say, 3 years, and I see them taking action and they bring me a deal and they're like, Diego, I'm looking to raise money. Like, well, how do I do it? I'm like, bro, I'll give you part of the money and then we'll put it on the Slack channel and we'll do it together and all this other stuff. And so now, for example, I give in hard money to the members. I own a 16 unit apartment building with a few of them. I give hard money loans to two businesses now. So now I have part ownership too, on small, but on two businesses. And we have mentees that have gone from two properties to 100 doors now. And it's really cool to see. It's really
Wow.
cool to see. And the best part is that a lot of them, they identify with my story, so they are like the underdogs that never had somebody that, number one, they could relate to. But then when they come to this, they're like, oh
Mm,
my gosh, I am with my tribe, right? I am with the ones that we have. Our parents didn't
mhm.
do this, we never grew up knowing this, but now that I have this mindset, we are that those people that are like here to take action and create a level of us all becoming financially independent or becoming millionaires.
I love that so much. That's amazing. And at the end of the day, also, why do we do this type of stuff? Is because people did this for us. We wouldn't be at the position that we're in. And Diego, you're way ahead of me, but being these positions at an early age, if we didn't have these mentors, if we didn't join these
Hmm.
communities, and also we just realized on the other end, our mentors did it because it's fulfilling. Like we love doing this. It's something that we love to do. And I'll say one more bonus is that now we get to hang out and travel the world with people that we've helped. Because at the end of the day, like I have some of my best friends that are not able to travel with me. I'm like, I'm going to Colombia in 2 weeks. Anybody in? Crickets. I can't because I only got 2 weeks from my whole year and I'm stuck in the job. I'm like, all right, well, we got to make some new friends that could do all these fun things. That's why, me and Diego are like, let's go to Puerto Rico next week. We could do these things, and we want you to be able to have that opportunity to join us on these amazing experiences. But what you mentioned in that was partnerships. Let's dive
Mhm.
into partnerships because I know a lot of people are in that position.
Yes, yes.
Hey, interest rates are high. I need to raise
Mhm.
capital. So my two questions, and you can run with this however you want. Number
Mhm.
one, how do you decide who is the right partner? Number two, how do you typically structure that? And what does that look like? I know there's multiple ways, but I just want you to
Mhm.
run with that.
Yeah, yeah. So who is the right partner? So one key thing that's really important is that you want to make sure that you partner up with somebody that has what I call is an unfair advantage in real estate, especially in real estate, but with any partner, whether you're starting a business or something. There are four things that I have found that can be that unfair advantage that you can bring to the table as a partner. Number one is your time. Number two is capital. Number three is your network. And number four is expertise. Okay. It's really important to know that in the beginning, let's say when you're in your 20s, right? You may not have any money. Maybe you have a little bit of money, but you don't have the time. And so you partner up with, I'm sorry, you, but you do have time. And so what you do is you partner up with somebody that does have the capital and you can become the boots on the ground. They leverage your time and you leverage their money as an example, right? So it's time, money, expertise, and knowledge. Once you figure out what your partner can bring that complements you, the best kinds of partnerships are not the one that, hey, I have no time, partner number two. And now you're like, okay, well, this is not going to get us anywhere because we need money or we don't know what we're doing. So the main thing here is that you want to partner up with somebody that complements you. Number two, as you begin talking to partners, you want to make sure that you have the right values and also the right vision of where you guys want to go. And understand that it's okay for a partnership to talk and be like, hey, let's just do this for 3 years because after this I want to do something else. Cool. If that works with your vision too, then it's good. If you want to be like, look, the goal of this of me, if I partner up with you to buy one property, the goal is to buy 100. Can you fulfill, like, do you see yourself with that vision?
Mm,
Yes or no? Right. So that then you can create a form of like you both are aligned, and alignment is key in partnerships. One of the things that you can do to test each other, how you can do partnerships, if that will be a good partner, is maybe give them a couple of like assignments to do. Like be like, hey man, we're gonna partner up in this deal in this market. If you can send me 3 or 4 properties with some kind of analysis so that I can look at it. Can you get me that by next, like by tomorrow 5 p.m., right? And if they say yes, and then when it's 5 p.m., if they don't give it to you and you're expecting it, maybe they give you a legitimate excuse, or maybe they're like, hey, no, I didn't get to it. I'll get to it tomorrow. And if that becomes the norm, then you know that if you sign up with them and you need to get something done, you're not going to be able to expect it right away. They're going to give you excuse for later, right? So that becomes more of like a choice if you want to go that route with that person, but it's just an example,
hmm
right? So you want to make sure that you align yourself with the right values, the right vision, and that you are complementing each other. That's, I'll tell you, like I've learned a lot about partnerships throughout the years. Some have not been good, others have been great. But at the end of the day, it's like the lessons learned that I take them on for the next partnerships. And then making sure again that understanding that for anybody that wants to grow or scale faster, partnerships is one of those key things that can help you. Because I own over 60 doors around the US, and only 3 houses, I believe, are in my name. The rest are in partnerships with other people, either
mm,
50-50 or 25-20-20-20-20 with like other, with for that 16 unit, for example. So it all depends in the right partnerships and how you're doing it.
hmm Let's play a game of red flags.
Yes.
What's two red flags that you would see in a potential partner that you're like, I'm out?
Two red flags. I would say number one, integrity. Integrity has to be one that if the numbers look fishy or something and they don't know how to explain it, or they give you excuses, I think that those are one of the things that um, they sort of like, you can lose that trust. That will be a red flag. Number two, so yeah, I would say integrity. Integrity is a big one for me, and it should be for everybody. From the
Mm-hmm.
perspective, because you want to make sure that your partners stick to your word and that you can trust them, right? Um, the other thing I would say, um, if they tell you something, they have to do it, right? And again, that becomes with integrity. But
Mm.
at the end of the day, is those things, um, and that, yeah, I right now what is coming to my mind is integrity, right? Because it's integrity with you, integrity with the others, integrity with the finances, and making sure that you're doing
Mm-hmm.
every everything to what you guys agreed upon in the beginning. I think that in partnerships it's very important to set the right expectations in the beginning. If not, it's going to fail. Because if then you begin to blame that person, be like, well, but you're the boots on the ground, or like, you told me that you were going to be doing a lot of like the heavy lifting or whatever, why don't we have insurance or whatever? And it's like, well, I thought that was going to be on you, because that's, you can do that online. And like, so you want to make sure that you set the right expectations with the partners.
That's man, set expectations. That's so true. Like I feel like that's overlooked in like a lot of areas of life. Like if you're in sales and you have a client that you're bringing on, if you don't set expectations, it's going to be a nightmare going forward. So I can only imagine in partnerships, and that's something that I'm looking to get into, is figuring out who's the right partner. So I took notes
Mhm.
myself because I'm still learning this. So I love that. I appreciate it.
Yes.
And also
One,
something I'm
yeah.
going to touch on because one of my coaches. Oh, go ahead.
No, 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 you're good. You're good.
Okay, I was gonna say one of my coaches was saying, Jesse, when you look at partnerships, you know how you're supposed to have a written agreement. Don't look at it as a written agreement. Look at it as a disagreement, because you're not going to look at that thing when everything's going well. The reason why you have that in place is for that time where stuff goes sideways, and at
Mhm.
some point it will. And if you don't set expectations and you don't have what is supposed to happen when you do have the disagreement, that's when all hell's going to break loose. That's when it's going to really suck. And go ahead. I know you said you're going to say something.
Yes, yes. You want to make sure that you have everything in that operating agreement, as you mentioned. And one key questions that I would ask is to that partner is, have you been in other partnerships already? And how did they do? Did they
Mm,
succeed? Did they fail? Can I speak to one of those previous partners? Because they might say, "Oh yeah, we have this. I actually have 3 properties with him. He's been amazing, and if we do calls once a month on it, we check in, and everything is good. Cool." With another one partner, it might be like, "Hey, dude, no, I wouldn't do business with him ever again. This happened. This happened. Okay, cool." And then the other one is asking your partner, right? I like that potential partner, what keeps you up at night right now? Is it money? Is it
mm,
maybe it's like family member or like something, right? Like something, so that you, at least you're aware about what's going on in their life, right? It's really important
yeah,
um
so good.
to make sure that he's like, to give you an example, right? And this is completely made up, right? But you can be like, hey, what keeps you up at night? And you'd be like, well, this family member just found out they have cancer and I might have to take care of them in the future. Be like, okay, well,
Hmm.
thank you that you let me know that it keeps you up at night. I'm sorry that that happened. Um, in this partnership, you mentioned that you were going to be the person with the most time. So how is this going to affect in the future? Like, how do you see this being affected? Right? So it's like, when you ask those
Mm,
questions, you can set the right expectations, because if they tell you, no man, no worry, no matter what, I'm going to commit 5 hours a week to this partnership. Cool. You write it down, 5 hours a week, send that via text, so that then later, if they're like, hey man, how are you doing? Is that, hey man, for the last 3 weeks I wasn't able to do it. Okay, we need to talk, because you told me that this was going to be the expectation. How can I help? Do we need to hire somebody? Do we have enough funds to do that? Like, what can you do? Right? Look at it for solutions. Don't be like, well, dude, you told me, right? The main idea is to find conversations and find solutions. And then maybe it doesn't work out. Maybe he tells you, hey, Diego, like, look, I sign up for more than I could chew. I need to be out of this partnership. Cool. Thank you for letting me know. Let's move on.
So good. I'm gonna come back to this and take even more notes. Diego, I want to switch topics a little bit. I know we're talking about that PR condo on the waterfront before we hopped into this podcast. So let's
Yes.
go back and talk about that and how you were able to get it, and I'll just kind of let you take it from there because it's a great story.
Yes, yes. So my condo in Puerto Rico, it is my dream condo because it's 2 bedrooms, um, ocean oceanfront view. It's in the fourth floor. If for me, it is exactly what I need for what I want. The location, everything is perfect. And what's crazy about it though is that people see that now, right? They see it on Instagram or whatever. Uh, but what they don't know is that I bought it with a line of credit that I pulled from my first house hack. And that is what's so great about real estate,
Mm.
letting momentum become your friend and leveraging that equity in your houses years later so that then you can buy the condo of your dreams, right? And it's a condo, dude, that you and I both have hung out there. It's really cool. I love going there. The beach is right there. It's amazing. And here was the key. Here's the story: is that I bought that property, putting 20% down that condo, but the money, as I mentioned, came from a line of credit. So, what is a line of credit? That first house hack that I bought in Austin in 2014 for 170,000, putting 5% down, so less than $10,000. Less than $10,000 got me the down payment for that house hack. I lived for free. 9 years later, I was able to pull a line of credit using the because of the equity, because now it went up to like 350 or 400,000. So now I was able to go to the bank, pull a line of credit, and with they gave me a line of credit of 160 or something. And I used part of that to put the down payment in the condo in Puerto Rico. Now, of course, I have to pay that money back,
Mm.
but the cool part is that I didn't use any of my cash. I used that line of credit to pay for that property. And that is what's so cool about it is that I reap the benefits of real estate, and those $10,000 from 2014 bought me the condo in Puerto Rico in 2020.
That's amazing. I love that. And then diving in a little bit deeper to how that works. So if you pull a line of credit, let's say from that first house, what does that
Mhm.
look like? Now you have a payment on that line of credit, and then does your current mortgage on that house change? Does it stay the same? Can you walk me through what that looks like?
Yes, yes. So the PITI, a mortgage consists of the PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, right? So what happens is you're still going to keep paying that bank for that first loan, that PITI, but then the bank that gives you the line of credit puts a second lien on that house as a line of credit. So then that line of credit, as if you use it, you pay interest and then you have to pay down the loan. But if you don't use it, that's what's so great about it. You don't pay any interest. That's why sometimes getting lines of credit is better than doing a cash out refinance, because then you have to pay
Mm-hmm.
interest on that money that you just got. And if you're sitting on that money for a year trying to figure out what you're going to do, or maybe 2 or 3 years, then you're just paying so much interest without having to do it. So that's why sometimes getting a line of credit is better. But then what happens is you have your first lien with your PITI, and then you have your second lien that becomes the line of credit, and that is in simple interest. So it's not amortized or anything like that. Is just interest that you do have to pay. Now it is a little bit higher than regular mortgage loans, but at least it gives me the flexibility. And with that, imagine that the line of credit is at 8%, right? Then what happens is if I'm not buying
Mm-hmm.
properties with a line of credit, or if I paid it down or whatever, and if I have a buddy that says, hey, I need $50,000 for this deal, I'll pay you back in 6 months. will you be able to have money to lend? And I'm like, yeah, dude, I can lend you those 50. It will have to be at 12% interest and 2 points, let's say, right? So now, if for that 50,000
Mm-hmm.
at 2 points, you're going to get 1,000 upfront, and that 10% annualized. I mean, we said 12, that 12% interest on 50,000
Mm-hmm.
annualized, you're going to get that money monthly, and you're going to be able to pay that line of credit that you use, that 8%, and you make that 4% difference. So it's that arbitrage of using other people's money, the bank, for you to become that bank. Because that's exactly what the banks are doing right now. We get the power to do
Exactly.
that.
That's amazing. I guess my question is, if someone has equity in the house, because I have a lot of people that reach out and say, hey, Jesse, I have my house, and maybe they weren't trying to get into real estate, but they just have this house and they've had it for 5 or 6 years, appreciation, they have equity in it, maybe 100K. Would you recommend people just get the line of credit and have it waiting, since, this not, the interest doesn't start until you start using it?
That
I'm
would be
trying to figure out
something.
why someone wouldn't do that, even myself.
Yes, that will be something that I highly recommend to everybody. Just get that line of credit. It might cost you $500 for closing from the bank, but it is totally, totally worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And you just have to tell them, they're going to ask you, what do you need a line of credit? Just tell them that you're going to be doing remodeling in
Mm-hmm.
your house, and that's it. And they'll give it to you.
Mm,
You do need to have enough equity for the math to work
got
for
it.
them, but it will work.
What is typically the equity that you need to make it work? I'm just curious.
So the banks usually need to have like you need to have like seven more than 25% equity in that property. So to give you an example, let's say that the property is worth
Mm,
100,000, right? And you owe 50,000. More than likely, the bank is going to give you a line of credit of 25 or 30,000 to get into um, that 75% loan to value or whatever.
mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah.
What's something I haven't asked you that you think is important to cover, especially as you know, like our Growth House audience, which again,
Hmm.
on behalf of myself and everyone who was there for that Growth House Mastermind last year, like, we appreciate you. Your story was so inspiring. I know a lot of people ended up following you after that and like stayed connected. And even to this day, I always ask people like, hey man, like, how's it been since that immersion event, the boot camp? And they're like, man, it was amazing. Diego's one of my favorite speakers. I've been following him, inspired every day. Love his tip of the days. So just on
Yes.
behalf of Growth House, I want to thank you for coming out and supporting.
Yes, man. That was amazing. That was awesome. Well, the one thing that I would say is, how can one take action, or what are the steps for somebody to start buying their first investment property? Like, how do I get started? What do I
Yeah.
do? And if you were to ask me that question, here's what my response will be. You need three things. You need the right strategy, you need the right market, and then you need to have the right team. The right team is going to consist of your investor
Mm-hmm.
friendly realtor and your lender, the banks that you're going to talk to, so that you can qualify for a loan that fits the strategy that you're going to be buying in the whatever market you choose. Right. So you have to decide, am I going to be
Mm-hmm.
buying a property for appreciation in the future, or am I going to be buying a property for cash flow? Okay, I'm going to choose cash flow. So then I'm going to look at what markets I need to give me the most cash flow, right? Because to give you an example, like Austin
Mm-hmm.
has very little cash flow, but it might have the pretty good appreciation in the future. So you can invest in other markets that maybe may not have that crazy appreciation, but it's going to give you solid cash flow. And so you want to invest in those markets, right? So let's say you decide, I highly recommend that
Mm-hmm.
you analyze three markets, three cities, choose three zip codes in those cities, and then work with your investor friendly realtor and lender and tell them what strategy you want to use. From there, get set up on the MLS or on wholesalers list, whatever strategy you want to use to find properties, and then go from there.
I love it. So I got a couple people asked on Instagram, and guys, connect with me on Instagram. Connect with Diego. We'll put all the links. I want him to shout out exactly what he's got going on. But before that, I want to let people know, if you're listening to the show, I'm going to start asking some of the questions from our Instagram stories on the show. So someone asked, Diego, what's the most important thing in real estate when I'm looking to scale? Let's say they have 3 or 4 properties to get to that next level, and maybe to get to 10. I know partnerships is one, but do you have any other tips on scaling?
Yes. I would say look at what your return on equity is on your properties. Like if you have a couple, and see, number one, see what the return on equity is. But the most important thing is, how can you cash on different funds, right? Is it the equity from the properties that you have? Is it a 401k? Is it maybe some of your families that can lend to you? Can you raise capital? So it's by, you have to analyze your portfolio a little bit better and see where you can tap into those things, so that then you can use that money to leverage it. And that's how I was able to. I looked at the property. I'm like, holy crap! That property has appreciated a lot. Let me see if a bank could give me a line of credit, and now I can use that line of credit to buy more properties. And so I feel like that will be things that's something that people can do.
So good. Shout out Jen for sending that question in. Another question we had was from Samantha in Colombia, and she said, is there a time of the year that's best to purchase property? I've never thought about that, so I want to see if there's a time of the year that you think is a good time. And then also, I want your opinion on timing the market versus timing the market with real estate.
Hmm. So it's a little bit tricky because you're going to buy an investment property, right? I would say you can negotiate a better deal depending on the market in between September to December, because school has already started. Everybody that wanted to buy a house before the school started already bought it. So then the properties that stayed on the market after September, they're going to stay on the market a little bit longer. So you're going to be able to negotiate a little bit better. But then what happens is that, let's say you buy a house in November, that you close on it, you begin looking in September, you close in October, you do some things to make it ready, and now you put it on the market to rent in November. If you're in an area that snows and November and December snows a lot, people are not going to look for homes to move into or move out of during those times. So, yes, in September, it's good, but there's going to be less demand on rentals during those times. So, you have to just see what will work based on your market. But I know that buying in September, October, November, December, you can get a better deal. And I can tell you that we're seeing that in Austin
Mm-hmm.
right now, right? I'm a realtor in Austin. I have a team of 10 agents. I'm an agent myself. We sell around 250 homes a year or more. And right now, for example, we've seen, this is in January, we've seen a lot of more buyers, a lot more pre-approvals happening. Some homes now have multiple offers, which before in December, we had none. And now we're seeing that.
Mm.
So you have to be conscious of the market, and with that comes like time in the market or time in the market. I'm a big believer that you want to have that
Mm-hmm.
time in the market, especially right now where it's been said that interest rates are going to go down. I would say buy the house right now, even if you're going to get a 6, 7, or maybe 8% interest rate. Thankfully, the market has come down. So maybe you'll get it in sevens or six, because if they go down to 5 or 4, and I don't think it'll go to 4, I think it'll be at like in the fives, there's going to be a lot more buyers.
Mm-hmm.
With that comes a lot more demand. So you're going to need more cash to be competitive. And when that happens, you're
Mm.
going to be like, let's say a property is now in the market for 400. When there's a lot more demand, be like, no, I'm going to wait until rates come down. It's like, cool, you can wait, but now you're going to be paying 425 for the property instead of buying it now at 400. You might pay a little bit less interest with the rate, but why not buy that property now at 400, and in a year do a refinance, and now you can get that with that property at an interest rate of
Mm-hmm.
5. But now instead of paying 425, you still have it at 4.
That's so good. Yeah, because that's the big thing a lot of people are trying to figure out right now is like, are we going to wait until interest rates drop? And you answered that question perfectly.
Hmm.
Diego, before we find out how to connect with you, Growth House, we're a community of go-givers just like yourself. We want to help support the people who bring so much value to us. You're one of those people, not only coming and speaking on podcasts, but also coming and attending and speaking to our people during these mastermind events that we have. So how can someone provide value to you? Because I think that's something that a lot of people want to connect with someone on a podcast and they'll say, hey, can I pick your brain? I'm like, no. We don't do that here. We don't go pick people's brains. We provide value first. We look for connections. We look for ways that we can help someone else before, we potentially ask for something. So how can people help you out right now?
That's good. That's something that not many people have asked me or like at all on podcast. So, man, right now, that's interesting. Dude, you caught me on that one. I would say, how can people connect or provide value?
Yes.
Um, Man, dude,
Let me
I
let me
would
give you a couple
say
examples.
yes, please.
Or go ahead.
No, give me
Yeah.
examples. Give me
So some
examples.
people like when people. Okay. So like for example, Top Dog, he was just on our podcast, 8-figure business owner, just crushing it, just going straight up in success right now. And he goes, hey, we just opened a office here in Phoenix, Arizona. Our Google reviews, we just got those going. If you guys want to go leave a Google review. If someone asks me this question, this podcast is I'm giving so much into it. I'm reaching out to my best friends like Diego to come provide value. If someone can go just give a 5-star rating and review, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, that would be huge for us. Or one of my friends, Kevin Cho, who did, 90 creative deals last year, he said, everything's going great, but I'm always looking for more private money lenders, people looking to help raise capital for my next deal. So maybe that will help kind of give some ideas for you, Diego, what you're looking for.
Yes, and I was about to say that if you guys know any hard money lenders, I would say send them my way because there's always opportunities to work with other people that like for example in my mastermind we are a group of like 80 real estate investors and we're always the people are taking action buying homes getting them under contract everything. So capital is something that we need. So that can be something if they know any hard money lenders stuff like that, that will be really 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 good.
Awesome. And then again, just a big shout out to FI investors. Anyone who reaches out to me, especially when they're, just getting going, looking for that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, first maybe investment properties. Like Diego, your group is incredible. People who are scaling way past that I've connected with that are, now good friends of mine, and we've had fun in Puerto Rico together with them as well. So I appreciate you so much. Besides people reaching out and saying, hey, here's maybe a private, money lender that I know that could connect you with, you have a certain way of, asking people to reach out to you if they would like to. I want you to kind of talk about that.
Yes, yes. No, that's good. So if you found value and you want to connect with me on Instagram, it's at real Diego Corzo. But I would love if you guys can send me a video. If you guys can send me a video, it's only 15 seconds on IG, so super easy. And just say one thing that you got from this podcast, one tip, something that you're gonna take action on, something that Jesse shared or that I shared, because that for me is gratifying with doing everything that I'm doing because I'm seeing where people are learning and how I can become much better on that. How can I share that better or provide more value? So that would be awesome. At real Diego Corzo on Instagram.
There you go. Diego, mi hermano. I'm going to keep practicing my Spanish. I'm on hour, I think 9 out of 480 hours. Me and Brian Lubin have, this little competition, and whoever gets the 480 first, the other person has to pay for their next trip to Colombia. So we got a little accountability and a little competition going. Diego, any last words for, the Growth House community? And again, I love you as a brother and I appreciate you a lot.
Yeah, man. No, thank you very much for allowing me to do this, to share my story. I think your community and everything that you have going on is awesome, and you're a connector too, similar to me, and that's one of the things that I love about you. And dude, I look forward to much more experiences and sharing more deep conversations in Puerto Rico with the ocean view and everything. Because every time we go over there, we have a lot of fun. It's productive. We're always working on our projects and everything, and that's really good. So, any last minute words or anything, I would say use 2024 to build the habits of the person that has that achieves the goals that you want to achieve. So, the goal is not as important as the habits that you're building. And so, make sure that when you're writing your goals, make them build the habits for you. And you will see that your life is going to change in a big way.
Mic drop. Jesse Ray with the Growth House Podcast here with my friend Diego Corzo. We're out.